Carla. It's okay. It's okay.
All rise. Red triple.
I wouldn't sit on the gavel. Don't sit on the gavel.
Wait, what do I do?
Just wait for her.
Estate of Hans Peter Jensen by executor of the estate, Carla Christine Jensen. Plaintiff versus the White Star Line defendant. You may be seated. Carla Jensen is requesting that this court should compensate Mr. Jensen's estate for his death, the physical injuries, and the pain and suffering he incurred as he froze to death in the icy waters of the North Atlantic, the emotional and anguish of knowing that he was going to die, and the financial losses for wages he would have earned as a skilled carpenter. The tort of negligence is doing something that a person using ordinary care would not do, or not doing something that a person using ordinary care would do. W. Page Keaton, Prosser and Keaton on the law of torts, 2831. Ordinary care means that the attention or skill that a reasonable person would use under similar circumstances. In order to prove negligence, we must provide 4 elements: that there is a duty of care owed to a person, a breach of that duty occurred, there is a reasonably close causal connection that causes injury, and that injury causes actual damage or loss. Charged, please stand.
So, you're representing the White Star Line.
How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Prosecution, would you like to call your first witness? No.
Opening statement.
Oh, prosecution. I mean, yes, prosecution. Would you like to say your opening statement?
Members of the jury, as the prosecution, we believe the White Star Line is guilty of causing the Titanic to drown due to not examining the dangers of an iceberg. Today you'll see our reasoning for our suspicions about this company's welfare and the welfare of their clients. We would like a fair trial and hope no biased pedestrians are involved. This will show you this business in its true form, a crude and inconsiderate scam. Thank you.
Will you please call your first witness to the stand?
Let's call Carla Jensen.
You swear that the evidence you shall give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So, Miss Jensen, why are you on the Titanic?
Okay, so I was on the Titanic because I was going with my
So sorry.
fiance, Hans Jensen, my brother Sven, and my cousin now to travel to the U.S. We planned on living in Oregon. They were all going to be carpenters in Portland. We chose the Titanic as our means of travel because it was supposed to be unsinkable and the safest ship in the world.
How have you known Hans?
I had known Hans since we were little, but we didn't pay much attention to each other until he returned from his duty in the Danish army.
What was your relationship?
He was my fiance.
Can you describe what you were doing when the Titanic hit the iceberg?
Around midnight on April the 14th, 1912, I remember being awoken by a loud sound. I didn't think much of it, so I went back to sleep. Then around 1:30 a.m., the girls in the next cabin came and woke me up. I could barely understand what they were saying. They told me we had to leave the boat and something had gone wrong. I only had time to put on an overcoat over my nightgown. And then we rushed up 6 steps from where our cabin was to the lifeboat deck.
So, did you see Hans when you were on the deck?
Yeah, as I got to the top of the stairs leading to the deck, I saw Hans. Hans was helping load passengers into lifeboats for nearly an hour because there weren't enough seamen to load on all the passengers. When he didn't see me for a short time, he had started to get worried.
Who were they letting on the
They were only letting first class and second class passengers on. It was surprising that I managed to get on being a third class passenger. And I had seen that a lot of third class passengers were being
saw that there were any third-class passengers. Did you notice that the boats were full?
No, they weren't full at all.
And when did you realize that Hans wasn't safe?
When I got back to New York, I thought might have just gotten separated. When I saw him the last time, he told me I might get to New York a couple days before him. But then when the papers came out with the death list, he was on there.
No further questions?
Would the defense like to cross examine?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you aware that your fiance was drinking that night?
Yes, the next day was his birthday. He told me he had only had 1 or 2 drinks.
Do you think that drinking and being drunk could have affected his thinking that night?
No, when I saw him, he didn't seem drunk. He seemed like he had had like a drink, 1 or 2 drinks, but not like he was drinking ridiculously.
Did your fiance get on a lifeboat with you?
No, he didn't. He loaded me on the boat, and then he had to keep loading other passengers.
Are you aware that he did get a seat on a lifeboat shortly after you partied?
No.
Okay. Were you aware that
Objection. How would she know if, it's a personal question, how would she know that if she drank on the boat?
I asked if she was aware.
How would I be aware if I was already on a lifeboat and down in the water?
That's what I asked. Also, were you aware that he forfeited his seat on the lifeboat by his own merit?
Objection. Personal information.
You just asked him.
Yeah,
I was asking
how would I be
if
aware though?
Overruled.
No. I was in the water. I couldn't see the.
There you go. No further questions, Your Honor.
May I step down?
Are you gonna read it?
Does the prosecution have any more witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Does the prosecution rest their case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would the defense read their opening statement?
Your Honor. Members of the jury, we the defense find White Star Lines not guilty of being responsible for Hans Peter Jensen's death. Hans Jensen volunteered to leave the lifeboat and was believed to have made himself jump. He was drinking earlier and was most likely drunk at the time of the incident.
Please call your first witness to the stand.
Okay. We're going to call up Lieutenant Stephenson to the stand.
You swear that the evidence you shall give shall be the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Could you please identify yourself to the court today?
I'm military representative to the consulate of the government of Sweden in New York City. As such, I am experienced in reporting events accurately and objectively.
Did you meet Mr. Jensen the night that the Titanic sunk?
Yes, I did.
Could you describe the events of the night in question?
Yes. So, I had some vivid recollections of that night. I was drinking lemonade in the first class room with several other people. At 11:40, we felt the quote slightly vibrate, but it was so slight that it only interrupted our conversation. Later the night, I heard that a White Star Line officer said to put on our life jackets, and then he said to go on the lifeboats. So I approached the boat deck, saw that it was busy with passengers from everywhere. I helped people get into the boat, I helped the women and children get into the lifeboats. And I saw Jensen, he jumped up from the rail and rashly untangled the ropes, like hanging over the water unsafely.
So he was being reckless that night.
Yes, very reckless.
Was he drinking that night? That you know?
Yes, he was. It looked like he had more than 1 or 2 drinks.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Would the prosecution like to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. So, if he was, do you think that drinking just 2 bottles would make him that drunk that he would jump off?
He could, but I wasn't sure how many he had drank.
You had said that when,
It looked like, I said it looked like he had more than 1 or 2.
in his testimony, he said he had that. I mean, in Carla's testimony, he had said that.
He said that,
Yeah, he said that.
what I mean,
It says that he had 1 or 2.
okay, it looked like he had more than to me.
So, what did you find out, what did you do after you found out that the Titanic started?
What did I do? I put on my life jacket and I listened to the crew. I helped women and children get on the lifeboats, and then I took a seat on the lifeboat. You may say that.
Right there. Yes.
Does the defense like to call another witness?
Yes, Your Honor. We'd like to call up the second officer to the stand. Okay, go on.
You swear that the evidence you shall give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Can you identify yourself to the courtroom, please?
I am Second Officer Lightola.
Where were you when the Titanic hit the iceberg?
I was in my room. I had just closed my eyes when I felt a vibration.
What did you do next?
I rushed out of my room, eager to help passengers.
Do you remember meeting and seeing Mr. Jensen?
Yes, after I was done loading Lifeboat 12, I saw him looking for his fiancée.
Can you describe Mr. Jensen's behaviors that night?
Yes, although he was trying to help passengers, I smelled alcohol on his breath.
Did you meet Lieutenant Stephenson when you went to assemble collapsible boat D?
Yes,
At this point, did you encounter Mr. Jensen for the second time?
yes.
Did you ask for Mr. Jensen's help assembling lifeboat D?
No, but he did anyway.
Did you tell Mr. Jensen that you did not need his help?
Yes,
And Mr. Jensen continued to help after you told him not to?
yes,
Did Mr. Jensen then board collapsible boat D?
yes,
Did you tell Mr. Jensen to make room on boat D?
yes.
What did you do then?
He got out of the boat and held calm passengers.
Did you tell Mr. Jensen to jump off the boat?
No, but sadly he did.
Is this the last time you saw Mr. Hans?
Yes, this was the last time I saw him.
Do you think alcohol in Mr. Jensen's body might have led to his lack of judgment and poor hearing?
Most likely.
Do you think you were the last man pulled from the water alive?
Yes,
Do you believe the crew did everything they could to rescue as many passengers as possible?
yes.
No further questions.
Would the prosecution like to cross-examine this witness?
Yes. When were you on watch?
I was on watch from 6 to 10 p.m.
Did you have a big part in the evacuation process?
Yes, I did.
Did you receive ice warnings from other ships?
We received 1 ice warning.
Were you the last person pulled from the water?
Yes.
And did you know that there were icebergs there?
No.
And are you sure that you jumped off?
We're not sure, actually. I just didn't see him. I saw him on the lifeboat 1 second, next time he did.
Would the defense like to redirect?
No.
You may step down. May the prosecution make their closing statement.
Yes, Your Honor. Members of the jury, as prosecution, we believe that the White Star Line Company is guilty of causing the Titanic to drown by crashing into an iceberg that might have appeared small, but ended up sinking the whole ship. Due to this very stupid mistake by the White Star Line Company, their name and the name of the RMS Titanic will stay in history forever. Not only did the White Star's negligence kill and cut short the life of the 21-year-old Hans Peter Andersen, but the White Star Line caused the senseless death of 1,521 others. In addition to that, the White Star Line has four elements of negligence, which are the duty of its passengers, breach of duty of care, and the cause of fatal injuries to the Titanic's passengers, and the damages to Jensen's estate. always put others before himself in any situation. That defense's evidence doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
May the may the defense make their closing statement.
Yes, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Mr. Hans Jensen is dead because of his own negligence, more so than the negligence of the White Star Alliance. Not only was he drunk and or drinking that night, which may have severely affected his judgment, but he voluntarily got off the collapsible boat D when told to make room. Mr. Jensen, being, assumingly, at least of average intelligence, should have known the risk of getting off the boat. Many other men, including Lieutenant Stephenson, got off and still managed to get to a lifeboat. If he wasn't so focused on calming other passengers and doing the crewman's job, perhaps he would have been able to get to a lifeboat. Mr. Jensen died because he ignored crew members' directions and in the end jumped overboard without his life jacket after drinking that night, thus leading to his own death. White Star Alliance is not guilty of negligence, for Jensen's own negligence caused his death. Thank you.